The 2026 regulations have raised a lot of noise, and the drivers are certainly not happy with what type of cars they're going to be driving. Figures like Leclerc, Norris, and Hamilton have all shared their verdict on the 2026 regulations, and it doesn't seem like the FIA will have an easy time accommodating the new cars to the teams. But is it now a bit too late to actually commit to any change? And more importantly, are we going to enter a highly criticized, low enjoyable period of Formula One? There is no doubt that the 2026 regulations have been provocative and controversial at the very least. The recent comments made by F1 drivers have made it even more of a hot topic in the media. The part where the driver needs to connect with the car and deliver top-notch performance seems to be missing. In all the simulation drives that have been completed by now, the reviews are mostly negative. Lando Norris has been one of the latest drivers to warn about the artificiality of the sport becoming a real thing, noting that if we continue to develop in this way, we might as well look at a sport that's losing its authenticity. Elaborating further, the McLaren driver said, "The new regulations are different. It's good and different in different ways. I think Formula One, in terms of the pinnacle of motorsport and speed and everything, you don't get much better than what we've had this year in the last few years. I just don't want to go too artificial with things. I don't want things to be too fake or too scripted. I don't think that's correct. That's not motorsport, and that's not what I like." The main concern for the F1 drivers is the cars being slower than usual, because that's the trade-off you make for the process of electrification and distributing the power to a 50-50 balance between the IC and the battery. This raised concerns as to whether or not the drivers would have enough of a charge to pass at the end of the straight. But according to Norris, the cars won't look cool or spectacular in terms of performance. He added, "Some things will be better. The cars are going to be even slower and straighter in the corners and things like that. They're not going to look as spectacular in terms of performing laps. They're not going to look as quick because at the end of straights, you're losing speed, you're decelerating. It's not going to look as cool or as special. I think there are still things I would like more from the car, just more battery and things like that. We could just have some more normality in it." Thanks to the new regulations, Audi has been able to join the sport, as they've been a big fan of the electrification process and the movement towards zero carbon footprint by 2030. But at the end of the day, many have raised concerns that the moves the FIA is making in order to make this happen are hurting the sport's real identity. I didn't think that I would agree with Lance Stroll on anything in my life, but when he talked about the 2026 F1 cars and what they're essentially missing, he made quite a strong point. It's just too overregulated. Elaborating further on his own belief about the challengers and how they're not going to improve racing at all, Lance added, "We'll get a bit of an idea in the test, and then in Australia, but the regulations, I think, are a bit sad. I have driven it in the sim, and that's why I'm a bit sad. It's a shame that in Formula One we are taking the path of electric energy, and we've had to take all the downforce off to support the battery power. It would just be fun to see some light, nimble, fast cars with lots of downforce, and just to simplify the whole thing a little bit. So less of an energy battery championship science project and more of a Formula One racing championship." And his point is quite valid. You cannot just regulate everything. You're trying to make racing more interesting by reducing DRS and adding manual override mode as the primary overtaking aid. You're also making the cars narrower and allowing the drivers to have a lot more opportunities to overtake. But with slower cars and so much innovation, I don't think that's going to be the case at all. Drivers have tried the 2026 models in the simulators, and they are not happy about it at all. Charles Leclerc spoke about it as well. The current Ferrari driver is not satisfied with what he experienced in the simulator. Elaborating further, he said, "Let's say it's not the most enjoyable race car I've driven so far, but we are still in the moment where the project is relatively new. My hope relies on the fact that it will evolve quite a bit in the next few months, but it's no secret that I think the regulations for next year are going to be less enjoyable for drivers to drive. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of it for now, but it's the way it is, and at the end of the day, I think there's a challenge, and I would like the challenge of maximizing a very different car for what it is at the moment. But do I enjoy it? Probably not. The regulations could also impact a lot of drivers' futures with their respective teams, starting with Max Verstappen. Although he committed to the Austrian squad for 2026, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see him stay there from 2027 onwards. There's a big risk that one team could be very far ahead, in a similar fashion to Mercedes having a very strong start back in 2014. Although things are a bit different now, the Brackley-based squad worked on the engine program for 5 years before it was introduced, allowing them to have a massive advantage over the rest of the grid. Teams like Ferrari and Aston Martin are not going to be caught off guard this time. But Verstappen warned us about the 2026 regulations a long time ago, saying that we're going to receive a bit of a weird car to drive that doesn't respond to the driver's input at all. His former team principal, Horner, believed that the car would be more or less a Frankenstein project, which put